1,000% sure. Number one, my chair doesn't work, so I need to get a new chair. That's not what I was going to talk about. But when you go through coaching changes, a lot of things can be crazy. And today was one of the craziest days that I think that I've ever experienced while covering LSU. And trust me, we're going to get into it. More DMs than anybody could imagine in reference to what is happening right now, the day in the eve, above, and before signing day. Now, we're going to break all of it down. But listen, you and I need to have a conversation. And that conversation goes a little something like this. No, it's not that we are trying to build our team and we did some members-only content and we thought that we put it as and published it as members-only content, which we didn't. It's okay. We've been going through a lot. We will be better. But that's probably why you should become a member. What you heard today on there is probably why you should become a member. But the question that I ask is, are you an LSU fan or are you a fan of certain people or coaches or players? Because if you're an LSU fan, you're an LSU fan, and you're worried about what is the best for LSU. You are going through one of the more, I don't want to call it traumatic, but you're going through one of the craziest times the sport has ever seen. You have pulled off a move in going and getting Lane Kiffin that I think a lot of people thought that you probably weren't going to be able to do it. And when Lane Kiffin got on the plane and left and went to Ole Miss, and he got on the plane with Charlie Weis, he got on the plane with George McDonald, he got on the plane with multiple people, family included. And Lane Kiffin found himself, and he left Oxford, Mississippi, and came to Baton Rouge. And you already had a staff that was in Baton Rouge at LSU. How did you think some things were going to go? You know, my grandmother used to tell me all the time. She used to say, Blake, oil and vinegar doesn't mix. When you're bringing in the replacements for the guys that are currently at LSU that have a job, how did you think it was going to go? How did you think it was going to go? Now, I understand it from Lane Kiffin's standpoint. I do. You want to bring your staff because you got to look out what's best now for LSU because you're taking a job. And you got to embrace the villain role. We've talked about that. But Lane Kiffin's now the head coach of LSU. He can't worry about Ole Miss. And I think that now that you're on the preface of signing day and a lot of things are coming out, Richard Anderson might push his commitment date back. Deuce Gerald's might push his commitment date back. Other players like Lamar Brown might push their commitment date back. We will see. They might commit and sign in February. We will see how this weekend goes, or this week goes. We'll see how tomorrow goes. How did you think it was going to go down? I am never and will never be in a position. I will never look at a situation and say to myself, when a new head coach comes in, that I am going to tell him who he should and should not retain. Do I believe that Lane Kiffin should retain Corey Raymond? I do. I think the best core nucleus on the team right now is at corner with Woodland and Pickett and potentially Haven Finney, who might push back his commitment because you have not made a commitment in who your defensive staff is going to be. Nor should Lane Kiffin rush that process. I don't think Lane Kiffin should hire somebody just based off of right now recruiting. Guys, this could be a long tenured thing. Do you need Richard Anderson? Yeah. Do you need Haven Finney? Yeah. Do you need Lamar Brown? Yeah. Do you need really good players to win football games? Yes. But I don't think LSU should ever be held hostage by coaches that are out the door and recruits. That's not how this works. It's not how it works. You don't even know right now, which I'm sure we will find out in the very soon future. You have no idea who your defensive coordinator is going to be. Louisiana is a special place. LSU is a special place. And one of the unique things about LSU is it's the only P4 school in the state. And I think it's what makes it one of, if not the best job in America. I look at 2003 and what Nick Saban built. There were some Louisiana connections there, not a lot. And he got the #1 recruiting class and went on to win a national title. Great coaches are great coaches, regardless of where they're from. You won national titles with a guy from West Virginia. You won one from a guy from Michigan. You won one from a guy from Louisiana. But I look at this entire situation and say to myself, we wanted Lane Kiffin to come in here as a fan base to do what he does, and we're mad when he does what he does. You wanted somebody to be hands-on. You wanted somebody to be hands-on in every situation imaginable. Now you're mad that he's hands-on? Because the current staff and the staff that's coming in, it was always going to be a bad mixture because you have an outgoing guy talking to recruits and an incoming guy talking to recruits. It should never change the aspect of what LSU is. The one thing about everybody in that coaching staff, whether you're going out the door or you're coming in the door, every single one of you are employed by LSU. You are employed to do what is the best thing for LSU. You can't say you're an LSU guy and you're trying to do something to sabotage LSU. I hear it from you all the time. Blake, yeah, we got to keep so-and-so. We got to keep so-and-so. I understand where you're coming from. And I would not hate for Corey to stay, for Frank to stay. Regardless of any of that, I don't care. I think Cortez Hankton needs to be replaced and is going to be with George McDonald and others. He's going to be replaced. You don't bring your wide receivers coach and hire an inside wide receivers coach, and Cortez Hankton stays employed as the wide receivers coach. Let's read the room there. But we're going to talk about some recruiting tonight, and we're going to talk about all of the things that are currently going on. And I'm going to tell you, there might be some things in there that you don't want to hear. There will be things in there that you do not want to hear. But oil and vinegar never mix. It was always going to be detrimental when you pull it off early. The guys that are out of the door have no meaning to what the future of this place is, regardless of what your emotions are. What do I want people around here that have Louisiana ties? Yes. But Corey Raymond is a Louisiana guy, and nobody that started for him this year is from the state of Louisiana. Nobody. Whit Weeks is not from the state of Louisiana, and you had a top 15 scoring defense. You had an interior defensive lineman who was a fifth-year senior. You had a couple of guys along your offensive line or along your defensive line. You had a top 25 total defense. Offensively, you were horrendous. That entire staff, damn near, was from guys from the state of Louisiana. Frank Wilson, Brad Davis, Cortez Hankton are from the state of Louisiana. And you're telling a guy in Lane Kiffin that we're going to not trust in a guy who's been #1 in the SEC the last 6 years in rushing? Because Ole Miss leads the SEC the last 6 years in rushing. And we're going to tell him that he doesn't know what he's doing? Having connections with local high school coaches in this state will always be a big deal. Always has been, always will be. And you got to build that connection, and you got to build it quickly. But I'd be damned if somebody's going to hold my feet to the fire and tell me I better do X, Y, or Z or else. I'll let you put all of that together. Are you an LSU fan, or are you a fan of a player or a coach? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. What is in the best nature of LSU? Just because some of the media are running out here saying we need to keep this person so that their sources don't walk out the door, build new ones. It's your job to. It's your job to. Trust me, I've had to do it. It's your job to. You got to lock the state down. You got to get the talent here. You can't miss on a Richard Anderson. But you're not going to sabotage me when your offense sucked and you say, well, you keep me or else. Brother, your offense stunk. That's what they built. The reason everybody is getting fired is because you weren't good enough. And it's about time that we understand that. Do I think Corey Raymond should stay? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do I think that there's going to have to be some justifications and some talks about Frank Wilson staying? Yes. I do. You don't have a running back committed in this class. You let some of the key players that are that are from this state, that left this state, that are playing at a high level. Gus, Duke has a guy who is a true freshman running back that leads the ACC in all freshmen in rushing. And we thought he couldn't play here in Nate Shepard. You know that I'm going to keep it real with you. And I always am. But let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to tell a guy who's arguably one of the best offensive minds in the country. What I'm not going to tell him, what I'm not going to tell the guy that is number one the last 6 years in the SEC in rushing, that he has no idea what he's doing. And neither should you. You got to let this thing build, man. I think of Saban. And I look at like his offensive staff as an example. Derek Dooley, Jimbo Fisher. Do I need to continue? I think of the defensive staff. Will Muschamp. Ron Brooks. Not Ron Brooks. You know what I'm talking about. You get what I'm saying. You got to build from within, and I understand that. But I am not going to tell Lane Kiffin he doesn't know what he's doing. Because, guys, quite honestly, he just won 11 games at Ole Miss when you haven't won 10 in the regular season since 2019. He did that, and you did not. He did it at Ole Miss. I think we need to trust in him a little bit. Nevertheless, we're live. Got a lot of recruiting that we need to talk about here. As we come on, Braden Allen, the wide receiver from LCA out of Lafayette, is committed to LSU. The 6'1", 180-pound, four-star wide receiver flipped his commitment from Oklahoma and is now committed. I say flip. He decommitted, then he came here, flipped his commitment from Oklahoma to LSU. We will talk about that. Kenny Darby is decommitted. Richard Anderson probably in plans to maybe push his commitment back. We'll talk about that. Jalen Chapman is moving on. You got a couple of commits today. J.C. Anderson, and you got one in an offensive lineman that we'll talk about here tonight too. So we got a lot that we need to discuss. We'll get to that right out of the break. Everyone do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. I always ask you to do that. Every show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Go over to FanDuel.com today or download the FD Sportsbook app on Apple or Android phones. Download the app, set your preferences for the parlays, futures, and, well, it's conference championship week. So you can bet on those too. We're proudly partnered and we're proudly presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. Walking, talking, Stephen Hawkins says, Braden Allen, LFG. Guys, it's not, you got to be patient. You're going to have to be patient. By the way, the portal's not open. The portal is not open. So it is what it is there. Let me get to a quick break. I got a lot of stuff I need to get to. Carter Bryant joins us in a moment. We'll get to him as well, but we got a lot of things that we need to get to. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick.
We're back.
All right. I read through some of the comments during the break, and I want to say this. I see a lot of you saying, well, Blake's believing rumors. No, I'm not. I will put anything and everything that I have behind what we built here. I don't come out here and run with rumors. And when there are rumors, I will say, hey, I heard a rumor. Guys, why do you think today happened the way that it happened? So you mean to tell me that Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown and all of these guys who, when Lane Kiffin was coming to Baton Rouge, said that they were shutting their commitments down, that all of a sudden they wanted to flip, or they wanted to not be here, or they wanted to push their commitment date back? That's not what's happening here. You are here to listen to what I'm assuming you trust me. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But we're going to tell you the truth. We ain't running this with rumor. And let me tell you something. I've had to calm myself down a lot today based off the shit that I heard. So don't come in here and say, oh, we're running with rumors. All right. I promise you we are not running with rumors. Let's get to it here. So LSU had some decommitments today, the eve before National Signing Day, with guys like Kenny Darby at a Bossier City. Jalen Chapman also decommitted today. I'm going to start off with those two. I know we don't like hearing these kinds of things. Pause. God bless me. I think that the current staff came in here for what it's worth and looked at Kenny Darby, looked at Jalen Chapman, and said to themselves, I think that we are going to look elsewhere. I think that we're going to look at elsewhere based off of guys that we've recruited. We are going to look off based off of guys that we know that we think that can play in the SEC, and we are going to go there. I think when you see a guy like Kenny Darby decommitting, you got to look at a guy like Braden Allen decommitting. You got to look at a guy like Braden Allen committing. You got to look at what happens tomorrow with a guy like Corey Barber, who potentially could flip on National Signing Day. So I understand that Kenny Darby, I think Kenny Darby can play. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the decision holistically, but they believe that Kenny Darby and bringing in his decommitment and bringing in Braden Allen and bringing in potentially Corey Barber is what they want to do for their team at that position moving forward. That is their discretion. They are a new staff, and I will trust in that until you give me a chance not to. So I saw a lot of people today say, oh, man, Kenny Darby is no longer in the class. What's going to happen? Well, you got another 4-star receiver, and you're potentially adding a guy tomorrow in Corey Barber, who's a top 150 guy in the country and one of the top guys at his position. I get it. It's a Louisiana dude. I understand it. But you lose one guy and gain 2 at that position. So I do think that you potentially gain 2. You gain 1, potentially could gain 2 there. So in reference to Kenny Darby, I actually think Kenny Darby can play. Don't know if I don't know if I would take him over in a situation over Corey Barber, because I think Corey Barber can really play too. But you're going to potentially add 2 guys to that position. Now, Jalen Chapman also decommitted today, and there was a commitment. So when we look at this, this is kind of coming into a point in time where you see a decommitment, and then you see a commitment towards you. You see a commitment in reference to a guy like, oh, man, what are we doing here? You got another Louisiana guy that is flipping his choice. I don't want to call them casualties of the new staff, but it seems to me right now, just based off of simple logic and some things that we've heard, that is potentially what is happening here. Now, you get a decommitment from Jalen Chapman, and you go into Miami, and you get an interior offensive lineman in Ryan Moret, who had been committed to Ole Miss and is now going to be taking his talents to Baton Rouge. Somebody that Lane Kiffin thought that could play in the SEC, wanted him in his program, and he's bringing him inside of his program. So you have an offensive lineman decommitting, and you're going and getting another one. Again, I am going to give it to the discretion of a guy who, quite frankly, knows offense. Guys, I think what gets lost in this too is when we look at Kiffin and we look at the new staff, we look at wide receiver play. Well, they haven't really sucked there. When I look at offensive line play, you have sucked there. And you're talking about one of the teams in the country that's been one of the best rushing teams the last 6 years in the country. But one thing is for certain, Lane Kiffin's teams the last 6 years have been number 1 in the SEC in rushing. If you think you can play, if you think this kid can play, you want to go into the city of Miami and you want to grab him, by all means, do what you do. I'm just not going to tell a guy who's constantly developed and constantly had top-rated offenses that he doesn't know what he's doing. So you have a couple of decommitments there, and you are breaking in. Now, later in the day, Kerwin Johnson would flip his commitment. The 3-star wide receiver out of the state of Louisiana would flip his commitment from LSU to Ole Miss. I think you're just going 2 for 2 here. They're bringing in the guys that they want. I'm just not going to overreact to that. If you told me in the beginning of the morning that you're going to bring in Braden Allen and potentially Corey Barber and process 2 guys that you want these other 2 guys over anyway, I'm just not going to overreact to it. But that's not what you're here for. What you're here for is probably and mostly due to the fact that there has been some sourcing out there. I know that there's been a lot of rumors out there, and especially people hitting me up about what is happening with Richard Anderson, the 5-star defensive tackle out of New Orleans, what is happening with Aiden Hall, what is happening with a lot of these other guys that are on the top of your class. What I would tell you is there's a mixture of things. Number one, you do not have certainty on who the position coach is going to be moving forward for those players. And I do think that is an issue. I think that Kiffin is going to have to pivot quickly on and give and sell and land in the sell of what he plans on doing there. Now, as this Blake Baker thing continues to heat up, as this Blake Baker thing continues to develop, I do not know if he is going to take the job at Tulane. I don't know if he's going to be offered the job at Tulane. What I do know is that if he is gone, then there are going to have to be questions that Lamar Brown, that Richard Anderson, and that a lot of people are going to have to answer. The problem that I'm having at the current moment, however, is in reference to Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown. There is a thought out there right now that they potentially could push their commitment dates back to February. I know that there was a report out there today that Richard Anderson was, and there was some thought that Lamar Brown might do it too. How do you go in less than 24 hours from shutting your commitment down to coming to LSU and being a part of LSU? Because it's not a financial thing. I asked around about this. Is this a financial thing? No, it's not a financial thing. Then what is it? I started off tonight's show in saying you can't mix oil and vinegar. I think that there has been, in a lack of better terms, I think that there has been some pettiness. I think that there has been some issues in reference to landing two of the best defensive tackles, actually the two best defensive tackles in this recruiting class. I don't know what's going to happen here. Lane is going to have to sell himself. He's going to have to sell his plan for the future. Now, if you're asking me what I would tell Richard Anderson, if you're asking me what I would tell Lamar Brown, and I hope some of you clip this and send it to him, LSU is forever. LSU is forever. Now, right now, you can't live off of promises. You got to live off of the facts of what you know. And the facts the way that I know them, or what are going to be the facts as I know them, you're going to have a really good defensive staff. If Blake Baker does move on, I highly think that you're going to I really think that you are going to assemble a really good staff to teach and develop you. You got to give Lane Kiffin grace. You got to give this staff grace. When you commit to LSU as a kid from the state of Louisiana, you commit to LSU. You don't commit to a coach. Now, we see what happens around the country. Kids commit to coaches. They don't commit to a place. And if you do not retain some of the New Orleans feel inside your building, there is a chance that Richard Anderson might move on. There is a chance that Lamar Brown could look elsewhere. But Lamar Brown is not a Frank Wilson thing. Richard Anderson is. I think that Lane Kiffin right now, regardless if Frank Wilson stays, Corey Raymond stays, regardless if anybody on the former staff stays, Lane Kiffin's going to have to close in selling his vision because you can't lose on those kids. I'm not retaining coaches who led me to a 7-5 season and they didn't prove that they belonged to be here. I think Corey Raymond, 1,000%, 1,000%. Prove me wrong. I had my worries about Corey coming back. Prove me wrong. Corey has done nothing but proven that he belongs to be on this staff. You have one of the best defensive secondaries and one of the best core nucleuses of corners in the country with DJ Pickett, with PJ Woodland, and potentially Haven Finney that can legitimately bring you to a high school recruited from within secondary that, guys, quite honestly, after what we just saw last week, could be elite. Yeah, I think Corey Raymond needs to stay. You're not going to convince me of that otherwise. I'm not going to get mad if he's not going to stay, but I think he needs to stay. But the offensive staff is the offensive staff. And I think that Lane Kiffin right now is put in between a rock and a hard place. This LSU offensive staff did not recruit well at all. Guys, they had 4 years to recruit, and look at what you are offensively. Look at what you are. What are you at receiver right now? You thought that you should go for guys outside of the state of Louisiana at wide receiver that weren't from this state. Like, I think of Trey Harris. That Lane Kiffin went and got, by the way, to Ole Miss and got him over you. You had a Louisiana guy at wide receivers coach. You went for C.J. Daniels over Trey Harris. I think I would have taken Trey Harris over that. Isaiah Satania, last week, both of his parents ran track at LSU. I think I'm taking Isaiah Satania over some of the things that you have at that position at wide receiver. You see where I'm going with this? So I hear you all the time saying Louisiana field, Louisiana this, Louisiana that. I'm with you. I've never left this state. I am from this state. I am raised in this state. I love this state and would give my life for this state. You didn't go get Louisiana wide receivers, and it bit you in the ass. You had a kid in Isaiah Satania who scored a touchdown on you to win the game against you, whose parents ran track at LSU. And you're trying to look at me and says, oh, man, we got to keep these guys from the state of Louisiana. They didn't keep kids from Louisiana. You have a kid from Louisiana that leads all freshmen in rushing at Duke. The bottom line here remains for me. If you're going to land Richard Anderson, if you're going to land Lamar Brown, it only comes down to one thing and one thing only. Is Lane Kiffin going to be able to sell his vision to not only those players, but to their families and, unfortunately, their high school head coaches? You tell me. We're going to have to see how that plays out. I ain't up here running for rumors. You can't ignore the Trey Harris situation. You can't ignore the Isaiah Satania situation, because that kid went to Arkansas and just scored a touchdown on you and has been scoring massive play over and 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 over again, and you thought he couldn't play here. No, what you did is that you went for Jelani Watkins, who also went in the transfer portal today, by the way, over Isaiah Satania, who's one of the best big play players in the SEC, who's got deep LSU ties. And you want to sit here and argue with me about what's going on here. He's got to sell the vision. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's some pettiness going on. I smell it. I'm like a bloodhound of pettiness. I could smell it like the Rock can smell cherry pie. I smell pettiness. Are you an LSU guy? Or are you a U guy? That's all I'm saying. LSU also got a commitment today from a 6'7", 240-pound tight end out of Mount Zion, Illinois, and J.C. Anderson, who flipped his commitment from Ole Miss to LSU. They're bringing their guys, man. Lane Kiffin has been really good at bringing in tight ends. I don't think that there's a better benefactor, by the way, of Lane Kiffin coming to LSU more than Trey Green. It does not exist, y'all. If I'm Trey Green, I'm not moving a muscle. And let me say this to every player that's currently on LSU's roster, especially if you are on this offense. You better not hit the portal. Unless you're processed, unless they say, hey, we don't think you can play here, move on, none of you better leave. Trey Green, no way. Manchild, no way. Philip Wright, no way. You dudes are dogs. You are studs. And Lane Kiffin is going to be able to scheme you open, get you open, and get you where you ultimately want to go in the NFL. I know that currently there are players on this team that are potentially being told to go elsewhere. Don't do it. Do not listen to them. You're going to leave the number one offensive mind and play caller, and not only just the SEC, but maybe the sport. And you're going to tell me that that guy's not going to get you open? That he's not going to pad your stats? I tell you, man, it's very, very, very interesting. A couple other things. I like the big tight end out of Mount Zion, Illinois. I do. All right, I was going to get to Charlie Weis Jr. and some of the staff stuff. We'll get to some of the staff stuff a little bit later because Carter Bryant's going to join us in about 2 minutes. Couple of other recruiting tidbits here. I think there's some things you need to keep your eyes out on. Joel Wyatt, a safety at a Tennessee, Joel Wyatt, a safety. Jalen Waters, a cornerback, and Chase Matthews. Because Chase Matthews is going to delay his commitment until Friday. LSU and Lane Kiffin has really been putting the pressure on the number five-star wide receiver in Chase Matthews. I think the dude's a dog. I think he's a stud. I do feel like that NIL money that Lane Kiffin talked about is about to come into question. Let's see what LSU's all about here. I'm going to leave it there. There are some recruits that you potentially need to watch out for tomorrow. Again, Joel Wyatt, Jalen Waters, Chase Matthews commits on Friday. You need to keep your eyes out on. Bryson Cooley, the big offensive lineman. I don't like where things stand. I do not think that he's going to be in this class. I do not. I don't like where things sit there. I didn't like, let me say this. The Bryson Cooley thing is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because it's going to look like a Lane Kiffin problem when this has been for probably 6 weeks a Brad Davis problem. It's the Cooley thing is, from what I understand, is going to, I mean, I had heard about the Cooley thing for a minute, but look, man, it's going to look like it's a Lane Kiffin thing when it's not. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on to it. So, look, we'll see. We'll see. I'm being tagged in all this stuff. Listen, we just talked about recruiting. I told you where I stand. I've told you where I stood. If you're an offensive player and you have not been processed, you leave Lane Kiffin is the dumbest move I have ever heard. Again, I will continue to say this until I'm blue in the face. To Richard Anderson, to Lamar Brown, to Haven Finney, to Aiden Hall, to Deuce Geralds, to all of these guys that are committed along your defense. Lane Kiffin's got to sell his vision and land. He's got to land. What did you think was going to happen? But I'm telling you, some pettiness behind the scenes happened. And I'm not guessing with that. So it is what it is. All right. Let's move on here. Let me get to a quick break. Carter Bryant joins us next. Stay with us.
Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority.
We're back.
Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The Lane train is here. And I understand. You hire him yesterday. It's all positive vibes. And guess what today is, Blake? Guess what?
All negative vibes.
All negative vibes. Why? I understand that everybody's reading the same updates and they've listened to your show. Look, we got the man. All right. We got the head coach that we wanted. All right. This is the best possible spot we could be in right now, outside of what could happen tomorrow. So I understand there's a lot of people shivering their timbers after what could potentially happen tomorrow. But Blake, we got the number one guy on our board. Like, could you have imagined that? And guess what? A month ago, you got to keep a grand scale picture of all of this. We didn't think that this was going to happen. What were we saying, Blake? We were all saying, hey, we're not going to get our guy. We're destroying our relationships with Jimmy Sexton. There's no way we're going to get Lane Kiffin. And boy, did we get him. We got him, Mr. Ruffino. So just like what we're dealing with today, guess what? This will pass over. We'll get the signatures that we need. And if a few guys decide to delay their decision, sure. Now, of course, Lamar Brown is the best player in this recruiting class. I truly do believe that. I would love to have him here. And it was a big point of emphasis to have him there. The first day Lane was actually there. So we'll see how all of this plays out. You've shared some pretty interesting information tonight on your show, and let's chat about it. Let's dig in. All
right, well, let's talk about it. So it is now officially being reported that Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown are postponing their signings until I'm assuming February.
Yes.
Until Lane gets his staff in here. How do you go from locking down your commitment and then within 12 hours saying that you want to keep your options open?
There was some motion.
Okay.
There had to have been something. It's just that even if you don't believe it, there was something. All right.
And it ain't other schools.
Yeah, that's what's kind of strange about that. So, obviously with all
hold on, let me pause you right quick.
Go ahead.
If this were other schools, like say, hey, Richard Anderson's really leaning Texas. You fired a coach, they come in the 10th or the 11th hour and they're trying to flip him. That would be the conversation right now. And they very well could do that. That's not what's happening here. Now, they could come in after the fact, now that there's a little bit of turmoil going on between an old staff and a new staff, and oil and vinegar start mixing. That 1,000% can happen. But that's not what's happening. oil and vinegar are mixing between Lane Kiffin's staff that he brought with him from Ole Miss to the old staff that's still there that is staying there until a bowl game's over with. So I understand that the young men, and it's their right, and they should do this, to wait till you know who your position coach is. I understand they're 17 and 18 years old. Well, then when you went up there to see Lane Kiffin, what was said then? He's not going to know within 24 hours who his defensive line coach is going to be.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
And what I think is going to happen, Blake, is with the way things are going now, you really do need to take a look at this calendar and ask yourself if this is helping high school coaches, if this is helping high school players, if this is helping transfer portal kids. It's not. It's the dumbest shit we have ever seen. And this is where I'm going to defend Lane to the high heavens. There's going to be plenty of times I'm going to be critical of Lane Kiffin. But the truth is, this college football calendar sucks. And now, if you don't want to feel sympathy for Lane Kiffin, I know a lot of the national media gets tired of, and they keep making the same talking point over and over and over again. Well, Lane shouldn't play victim. Well, now the true victims here are these kids. They have been committed to LSU forever. They don't know who their position coach is going to be. Lane doesn't know who's going to do what. He's dealing with this Charlie Weis situation as well. So there's just too many moving parts, and it's time for the college football calendar to change. Now, how's it going to change? Is it possible that it could change? The answer to that is probably not until we have some different type of change in college football. The NCAA is not going to do it. So it sucks. I understand that there's going to be a lot of angry keyboard warriors on message boards, on your message board, in my Discord. That's going to be like, well, if these kids are committed so long, why don't they just commit to the brand? Well, it's a lot to sympathize with them. There's a lot that's changed, even from when Lane announced that he's coming here to where we are now.
The only thing that I'll say about the calendar right now, signing day needs to go back to February. You need to go to the NFL model of free agency, and the draft doesn't happen until after the season.
Yes.
You should make a rule with all Power 4 conferences that a coach does not move or get hired from another school until the end of the year.
Agreed.
Okay?
Yes.
You need to put the portal window in the spring. They listen to coaches who don't want their spring to be filled with recruiting. So when they listen to coaches who want summers off and dead periods, when they're making millions and millions of dollars, it's not what's best for the sport. You got to move it back. Now, what people don't know is this. When a kid early enrolls, they already have to sign an exemption to be able to early enroll. You're already given an exemption to early enroll. If kids want to do that, let them. But if you're not early enrolling, you cannot sign until February. They have to do that now. It is listen, I say this, and they were like, oh, well, Blake won't listen to options. That's not what I'm saying. It is the only option.
I agree. And
it is the only option.
And
that's what I got to say about the schedule.
Yeah, and also spring football is just irrelevant. I just think it's nothing.
I don't. Let me tell you why it's not.
No, let's go.
Kirby Smart said this past spring that his offensive line took the biggest jump in spring, while I thought that LSU's took a step back. Offensive linemen need reps. Defensive linemen need reps. I don't think I can't go there. Spring is a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, sure. For the practices.
Yeah.
But I would say for true freshmen, it's just not as important. I'm serious. Like I don't think that there's any correlation of any college football player's career truly drastically changing because they're early enrolled. A lot of them will cite it, but I don't think it has as big of an impact as people think it does.
I do think that Derek Stingley and DJ Pickett would disagree.
Cool. And then you have guys like Emory Jones and Mason Taylor that, showed up day one and we're great. So
that's fair.
So I
also didn't play early.
Mason played every
I mean,
snap.
Mason did, but Emory Jones did not. I mean, it took, what, 4 games to get to him?
Yeah, it was game 3, I think, Mississippi State. But whatever the case may be, if you want to fix this sport, bring back February signing day. And guess what else comes back? Potentially the Bayou Bash, the greatest recruiting party of all time back in the day in Baton Rouge. But, Blake, this calendar sucks. And I will go back to defending Lane Kiffin. And I will not only defend Lane Kiffin, I'll defend every other coach, John Summerall, who had to make this choice, whoever had to make this choice, Eric Morris at Oklahoma State. This is the only sport, the only one that we have in human existence where coaches have to make these decisions in season. There are hundreds of thousands of sports and leagues and levels where the only sport where this exists is college football. We've got to fix this shit. It is stupid. And I also feel for the teams that, I don't feel too badly for us because we're not playing for anything of significance. I feel bad for coaches that actually are playing in playoffs, SEC championship games, conference championship games this weekend. And guess what they got to worry about tomorrow? I know a lot of their guys are signed and their coaches aren't.
They got to worry about coaching this team while making sure Florida or LSU or wherever's right.
Yes. Think about that. And that sucks for the analysts. It sucks for the staffers. And it is a little bit easier because their staff is more than likely going to stay put for the next year. But, it's nuts to me. Penn State is going through a lot right now. They're going to get absolutely shellacked tomorrow. Holy moly. And then obviously Kentucky, they're making this radical decision to go with Will Stein firing Stoops this late into the period. So it's not just LSU that's having to deal with this. It's a lot of different teams. But to your point, though, about LSU and what has changed in the past 12 hours and what could happen tomorrow, okay? I understand that this first recruiting class is big, right? You take a look at the immediate success Brian Kelly had in 2022. And a big part of that was because LSU was able to retain the higher level recruits in that class. They were able to have Will Campbell, Harold Perkins, obviously Emory Jones, and of course Mason Taylor was in that class, and DeMario Tolan, who played a role in that first season. Those guys immediately helped you. So this first signing class is very important. I don't want to downplay that all this stuff that's happened today happened and it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal. But to me, getting Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge and what we heard on Monday and what the future of this program will actually be is what pumps me up, and it should pump you up as well.
I do. And listen, there's been some petty stuff between the old staff and the new that should not have been happening. You can't hold things hostage because you don't know if your future at LSU is at stake. With all due respect, your offense sucked, and you didn't go after Isaiah Satania, whose parents ran track at LSU. You didn't go after Trey Harris, who was the Louisiana guy who wanted to be here. And that part I'm not guessing. This iPhone right here, shit, that he didn't want to be here. Shit, that he didn't want to be here.
His parents confirmed that too.
Yeah,
publicly. Yeah.
Okay. Wanted to be here, and you missed. You missed. So if you're Lane Kiffin coming in here and say, hey, man, your offense sucked, but now you want me to retain you because of commits when I haven't even been able to put a defensive staff together.
Right.
Here's another thing. Why is the running backs coach having to recruit the number one player in the state and the number one player in the country?
It is a little bizarre.
It happens nowhere else. Go ask Nick Saban how that happened.
Right. It's different. Yeah.
It is different. I understand the connection side of this. I get all that. I appreciate Frank for all that he's done. But this all in vinegar thing that's happening right now is not going over well. Okay? I don't know what the future holds for Lane Kiffin on the defensive staff. But I know that he hired DJ Durkin before anybody did. How good has he been?
He's the best defensive coordinator in the SEC.
Okay.
This year, he's been the best by far.
He brought in Pete Golding. How good's he been in his SEC tenure?
It's been pretty good. And it's not only that he brought him in, he took him from Nick as well.
Okay. Last but not least, he's trying to keep Blake Baker. You went from 108th in the country in scoring defense to 15th. I think the man knows what he's doing. Now, does Randall Joyner follow him? Like all of this stuff, I don't know. Does Ed Orgeron get rehired? I don't know. But you can't mix oil and vinegar and think that, like, hey, man, we are LSU people. Like, I'm a fan of LSU. I'm not a fan of a coach. Like, coaches are going to come and go. LSU will remain forever. So I'm not going to have loyalty to anybody and playing these petty games when, quite honestly, only thing I care about is LSU. And you can't going out there saying that the only thing that you care about is LSU, and because you don't know if you're getting retained, you're getting paid by the school.
Yeah. I mean, it's your job to get the signatures. Yeah.
It's your job to get the signatures. Only thing I would say here before we kind of move on to Lane Kiffin, if you want to tell me that that's not, like I had a lot of people, we're running with rumors. I'm not running with rumors. So I will just end it with this. Lane Kiffin has got to sell his vision. The only way right now that he can do it is sell his vision, which I think has happened, by the way. I think those kids would be looking elsewhere if he hadn't sold the vision. Secondly, he's got to go out there after selling that vision, and he's going to have to knock this shit out of the park defensively. He's going to have to. So can he do that will be the question, because I don't think Frank's going to be retained here.
Yeah, I don't know. You've obviously been all over this today. I've not.
If he was going to be retained, he'd be over with.
Yeah, you're right.
It'd be over with.
So I just don't know enough as you do, obviously, regarding this. It's okay for you to as well like what Frank Wilson has done here, and also understand that LSU is bigger than Frank Wilson. You know, I don't believe, Blake, if we actually line everything up, I don't think we ever won a national championship with Frank Wilson here. That doesn't mean he's not been great. I mean, I just don't know as much about that as you do, but I will say you're right. LSU is bigger than anyone, Coach. LSU is bigger than Lane Kiffin. And that's part of why.
Yeah, it's bigger than anybody. It's bigger than me and you.
Yeah.
It's bigger than everybody combined, brother.
Yeah, it's bigger than PHL, bigger than AYS. And look, and this is also a thing for Lane, right? Ole Miss was your program, right? You made it what it is today, in the same way that Dabo Swinney is basically Clemson. So Lane understood when he signed up to come to LSU, he needs that brand to get him over the top to win a national championship. So that's why Lane, if he really wants to be here, he's going to do some really massive things. So I hope the best that all of this gets smoothed over, but we'll see.
We will see. Let's move into Lane Kiffin. Let's get to the positive side of this thing. Holy shit, we pulled it off.
It happened.
I can't believe it. And listen, sitting at the press conference yesterday, which everybody made fun of my bald spot, by the way. I can't believe everybody was making fun of my bald spot.
I did not. I texted you like the good friend that I was. And
yeah,
I just wanted to
have great service in there.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I got everybody's text in a flurry. But everybody was making
but I texted you to let you know you're on camera in front of 25,000 people watching the press conference.
And they all saw my bald spot.
That's okay. I mean,
okay.
I had gray hair when I was 21. So, and by the way, I'm going to be a lot less lighter when we do the you know what thing. I'm a man of my word.
Oh, okay. Hold on. We're getting to that later.
I'm a man of my human word.
Okay, we're getting to that in just a minute. Don't let me forget about that. But dude, I can't believe LSU targeted one guy and they went after him and they got Lane Kiffin. One guy, they didn't move. And I thought the two biggest things that Lane Kiffin said in his press conference yesterday was, I'm sure you spoke to Florida and I'm sure you spoke to other teams. What did Verge tell you that sold you? I'm going to let you coach, get out of the way, and I'm going to tell you what – I'm going to ask you what you want, and we're going to go from there. You know who said that last week too, by the way? Was Jay Johnson in a press conference. Has he been good at all?
It's been okay.
It's been okay. I mean, brother, they aligned quickly and they went and got their number one guy and they landed.
I mean, I'm on the Lane train. He was my number 2 guy. He was my number 1 guy for a long time in the 2021 search, and he moved to 1B, and he was my clear-cut number 1 guy, and he's only become a better coach since then. You give LSU a lot of credit. And look, you and I were both very critical of this man. I give Governor Landry a lot of credit for doing what he did in the search, and he deserves
There's
credit.
going to be some things that come out about what Governor Landry did, and it's going to be massive, like big time donors coming up to the plate because he asked.
Yeah, and this actually went down for me on Saturday. One of those people who know Governor Landry called me, and when the Talty report came out, I was like, I wasn't really shocked that finally a national reporter said what he said about Governor Landry. Now, I appreciate him doing that. I thought it was important that he did that. I think a lot of people, and myself included at first, when the first week of the chaos began, we were saying, hey, we don't want Governor Landry anywhere near this search. But I changed my opinion on that quickly. Lane kept saying, hey, a big reason why I want to come to LSU is that everybody loves LSU. It's all one big thing. It's not a split state. Well, I would want the state's governor to also be aligned with me as well. So I'm glad Governor Landry was able to do that. And I've heard the same thing as far as those donors are concerned. And obviously, Verge Osbury, great job. I thought the contract language being attached to Verge was also interesting as well. And Verge did a great job of getting this done. Verge's relationship.
I mean, you do know what that means. People didn't grasp that. People didn't understand. Like, hey, man, Verge is the one that sold me. And he says if he does what he does, you ain't moving off of him.
Yeah. He's putting the chips in the middle, baby.
Yeah.
I like it.
So let's stay on Verge. I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Verge has a really, really good connection with Nick Saban. And Nick came out with a statement today and is like, hey, Lane's one of the best offensive minds in the country. I think he's going to do wonders. And then he runs out there on College Game Day and says what he says. But then Lane comes out there yesterday and says, hey, I can't really say this because, Coach was at Alabama.
Yeah.
But he told me to come here. Do you know how massive of a statement that is? That the best coach of all time, who 6 months ago was at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, said that his biggest coaching regret was leaving LSU. And then he tells your next head coach, who's been a mentor to him, LSU is probably the best job in the country when run right. How massive of a statement is that?
Oh, it's huge. And like a thing that Lane said yesterday, time heals all wounds, right? You couldn't imagine LSU fans many moons ago when Saban was pulverizing us year after year that we would come around on how Nick played a huge role in getting Lane here. And it's important. And if you're an Ole Miss fan watching this, I would be careful with how reckless you have talked about Lane. Who's to say Lane's not going to do something for you down the road in recommending a potential coach to pick you, right?
Like Charlie, what if Pete Golding has success?
Exactly. I mean, it's a strange thing how overboard. And look, I understand Ole Miss fans are emotional. I'm not mad at them for being mad. It's just, there's been a lot thrown my way and thrown a lot of LSU fans' ways. But man, I give Nick all the credit in the world. Also give Pete Carroll a lot of credit. Nick has an obvious tie to the school, but for Pete to say what he said to Lane was absolutely massive. So shout out to you, Coach Carroll.
Well, I equated it like this, Carter. When I took AYS full time, obviously outside of my wife, there were two people's opinions that I wanted the most, or three people's opinions, but I talked to my parents and I talked to my brother, who I think is a mentor to me. You don't understand, if you haven't been in that position, how those words affect you, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think that Pete Carroll telling him, to your point, hey, man, your dad would tell you to go for it. Your dad would tell you this is one of the best jobs in the country, and you better go for it, or you're going to really kick yourself. And I hate it for him that he couldn't coach the playoffs, and all this stuff is coming out, whatever. But I think it's a big statement. Let me ask you this. I haven't gotten to this yet because we had so much recruiting stuff that we had to get to.
Let's go. Let's go.
Carter, after not allowing Lane Kiffin to coach in the playoffs after accepting a job at LSU, can someone please explain to me why they're allowing Charlie Weis Jr. to do it? Do you understand the hypocritical nature of what Ole Miss fans have been saying along with Keith Carter? You know, all these LSU fans and media who have been trying to justify the situation of, hey, man, you're mismanaging this situation. You can allow him to coach, but now you got a rival OC who's signed. Y'all said Ole Miss people are saying he didn't sign. Charlie Weis Jr. signed a contract to be your offensive coordinator, but you won't let Lane do it, but you're going to let Charlie Weis Jr. do it. And then I saw people in the national media saying there's only one adult in the room, and that's Charlie Weis Jr.
Oh, spare me that bullshit.
He did the same thing that Lane wanted to do. Here's been my mindset the whole time. Ole Miss has never been in a situation like this before, so they don't know how to react. It's a lot like us in 2004. When Nick Saban left, and this was the first time that we had success, we didn't know how to act. Because we've actually won now, and we actually know how to act, and we've actually been there before, we've actually seen a pair of titties, and we're not in our mama's basements, we know how to act. They don't know what is coming for them. And that is the craziest thing to me, that this whole Charlie Weis Jr. thing has gone down.
Yeah, it's I have never been more outraged by another program's hypocrisy than Ole Miss. Oh my God. GTHOM. And for Ole Miss fans watching this, I might have to actually tell you what that stands for. But the problem is,
they would be offended if they could read.
Yeah, look, your hubris, I might need to explain what hubris is. It's your arrogance. I want to break that down for Ole Miss fans. You are so dumb. You are so dumb. You were not relevant before the train came to Oxford. Outside of Eli Manning and Patrick Willis and Marshall Henderson and a few other athletes, Deuce McAllister, thank you so much for doing what you did for the Saints. But outside of those four, you are nothing. And what did Lane do? He won 10 games, 4 separate times over a 5 at Ole Miss. Ole Miss. And he did it here and he did it at Ole Miss. And you don't want him to coach in the play. This is finally a year you can do this thing called, what is it? A win a national championship. And you don't want to let him coach. Here's the thing that Ole Miss fans do not understand. People only remember national championships. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Okay. I don't, you don't, because you know how complex and how hard it is to actually win a national championship. But this was a year you actually could do it, and you're not letting this guy finish what he started. The guy that made you relevant, the only reason you're here is because of the Lane train, and you decide to do something like this. All right. If you had true gall, if you had some true coconuts down here, if you really had it in your soul, you would not let Charlie come back either. You wouldn't let him roll back into Oxford. But you're doing it because you want to know what Ole Miss says, like, oh, we don't have this thing called an offense. We need to have somebody back here. It is
and Lane Kiffin's not a big offensive mind.
He's not. No, he doesn't know anything.
Hey, you know what I thought about?
It's just going to be fine.
You know what I did think about?
What?
You know what's really interesting to me? We're about to see how big Lane Kiffin is in his own team.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. This Ole Miss game is very interesting. Carter, if they suck on offense, regardless of the opponent,
not going to look good. Not going to look good.
I
am telling you right now, Blake, they are going to regret this. They are going to regret this. And look, here's the funny thing about it. LSU, okay, wanted Lane to be able to finish what he started because
Verge literally begged him. Did you see Verge's comments? I was standing right there. I said, I walked up and I said, did you want him to coach the playoffs? And the media started scrumming together. He goes, hell yeah. He goes, bro,
Yeah.
it's landing for us.
Yes. And here we are. And Ole Miss fans didn't want this to happen. It makes no sense. And I understand the people that say, well, Keith Carter's got to live in Oxford and all the fans are mad that he's going to a rival and all of this. The simple question is this for any Ole Miss fan that pushes against Blake and I, because we're two of the few that actually have this opinion, because there's some in LSU media that say you shouldn't have been allowed to finish, whatever. Just ask this question to yourself, Ole Miss fans. Would you have traded everything that has happened in the last 72 hours for what you got to have over the last 6 years? And the answer to that, yeah, they're never doing that. You unequivocally take what has happened in the last 6 years, no matter what, okay? Even if he's leaving you, I would have let him coach the playoff. I really do feel if I was an Ole Miss fan, thank God I'm not. If I was, my name would be Fletcher, and I would have some Oakleys and some Sperry's on right now. But Fletcher, Tucker, Bladen, whatever your name is watching this right now, you're going to regret how mad you are. How mad you are right now.
Fletcher.
Yeah, Fletch.
Do you think he pushes his hair over like this?
Yeah. He just pledged Kappa Sig, man. I feel really, really, really bad that you guys are going to regret this decision, because this is your one chance. This is your one chance to do the thing that you never thought that you had Eli freaking Manning and you couldn't really get this done. So,
well, I saw one of their media members talking about hypothetical championships. It was Ben Garrett, the guy who called Lane a hoe.
Yeah.
And first off, let's get something completely understood. You don't back down. You called the man a hoe. You don't back down.
He did. Did he back down? I don't think
he 1000% backed down. And then when he got you didn't want to talk to him face to face. Go back at him. All right. Well, you're a hoe.
Oh, you're saying like in front of on the field.
Go behind the media and then yell at him and say, I wasn't calling you a hoe. But he came out and said that LSU can win hypothetical championships. Carter, they have a SEC West Division champ banner in their stadium.
It's still the wildest thing. And whoever the LSU social admin that included that photo, even though we did lose, kudos to you. That was a great shot.
All right.
But yeah.
I know it's getting kind of late. I've kept you late. I don't like keeping you past 8:30.
No, that's fine. You had a busy ass show. Go on ahead.
Yeah, I got a lot of super chats we got to read here. So listen.
Yeah, go on ahead.
We got a long time to talk about Lane Kiffin and everything that's going on. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry I pushed you back so late, but this is going to be fun.
You should be excited. And here would be my message to what a lot of fans are concerned about, Blake. And you and I have discussed this privately. We discuss a lot of things privately that never see the light of day. Okay. Everybody is scared about Lane potentially leaving. And I get that. I totally understand that. All right. But who gives a shit? Like literally, who live in the present?
Mm-hmm.
What are we trying to do to try and guess what's going to come next in college football? This idea that some magical Kirby Smart that's going to stay at Georgia forever is going to just magically come into this program.
And he's going to stay there forever.
He might, yeah. I mean, Lane might be here 10 years. He might be here 2 or 3 years. I think he's going to be here for a while. I do. And I think he's going to win big. I really do think he's that great of a coach. What I would say, though, is just live in the present, because you worrying about the future and what's going to happen next is exactly why Ole Miss had this irrational decision to not let this man coach the playoff. They're worried about what's next instead of enjoying with what is now. All right. I understand. You should not get too excited about any introductory press conference. In the grand scheme of things, it means nothing. But did you not get chills down your spine when he said the Coach O thing? Just enjoy this for now. Enjoy the fact that this could be a lot worse if where we were a month ago to where we are now we're very lucky that we landed on the guy that our chips were pushed to the middle. Okay. There was this idea that was floating around. We'll never know how truthful it was. The most hated candidate in the history of candidates was Eli Drinkowitz this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What if that would have happened? Imagine how you would feel right now. You'd feel a lot different. Okay. So even with what could happen in the next 24 hours with the early signing period, you got your guy. The head coach is what truly moves the needle in college football. And maybe just as important as what's going to happen with all these signatures, it's going to be sorting out who your quarterback is going to be next year.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Blake, if you want to get really spicy right now, who your quarterback.
Yeah, you need more than one.
Will be next year.
Can you flip somebody at the 11th hour tomorrow? It's going to be really interesting. Just, the Duckworth kid, does he listen to you? Does he not? I guess, look, we'll see. All right. Carter the Power Bryant. Love you, buddy.
Cheers.
All right. Peace. That's Carter the Power Bryant. Always fantastic. Let me get to a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll take your super chats next. Stay with us.
Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
Only statement I'm going to say on this, and we're going to get to your super chats. Today, it was announced that Charlie Weis Jr. was going back to Ole Miss to coach for Ole Miss during the playoffs. Charlie Weis Jr. has signed a 3-year, $6 million deal to be the offensive coordinator at LSU. Both Lane and Charlie Weis Jr. came out with a statement. I just highly suggest, I was going to read it here, but I highly suggest you go read those statements. Lane saying, I'm going back. We don't want the kids to get penalized for our decisions, yada, 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 yada. He's grateful. Charlie Weis Jr. says he's grateful to LSU that they would allow it, and he's grateful for Ole Miss that they would allow him back so that he could finish it with a team. I think Ole Miss is the most hypocritical fan base, the most hypocritical people, the most hypocritical administration to not allow Lane Kiffin to coach them through the playoffs after accepting the LSU job when you said, we can't have a rival coach there. We can't have a rival coach there. But now all of a sudden a rival coach is there coaching offense for you and will be there coaching offense for you. What do you think those conversations with him in that locker room is going to be? What do you think they're going to be? Are you that naive? Maybe they put some form of guardrails on all of this. Maybe they only let him in the facility when it's time to practice and it's time to game plan, stuff like that. I don't know. But you can't come out and say, well, Lane Kiffin can't do it and get butthurt because he wants to go to another school. He wants to go to a better school. He wants to go to a premier school and then say he can't coach the playoffs and then let one of his staff members back to do it. I've come out here a lot and said that Keith Carter has completely mismanaged this situation, and tonight verifies that. Today verifies that. It is the most mismanaged situation in all of the coaching carousel, not named Penn State. It is hypocritical. It is foolish. It is dumb. So if Keith Carter wants to have those statements, we can't let you coach here. You just brought back the offensive coordinator for one of, if not your biggest hated rival. Yeah, I think you fumbled the bag on this one, my guy. That's what I'd say. All right, let's get to some super chats here. I know we got a lot of them. Listen, earlier in the show, I mentioned something, and I want to bring this back up. We are going through a little bit of a transition. We're bringing some people on our team, and they are posting stuff for us. So I sent them the thing today about the members-only content. And in the members only content, they didn't make it members only on YouTube. We will get better with that. I know a lot of people saw it. If you're not a member and you saw the video today with Blake Baker, that's the level of content you're going to get. We look behind the curtain. We look at things. We go through things that maybe we don't discuss at a deeper level here on a live show. So I highly suggest that you join the members only YouTube channel with us. All you got to do, hit subscribe down below. You should just hit subscribe down below anyway. There's 19,719 of you in here right now. 60% of you are not watching or not subscribed to the channel. All I ask, do me one favor, hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. Big Dog Daddy became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. We'll try to get some stuff back out to you tomorrow or Wednesday. M. Conkle with a $5 super chat says, I am pissed if this is true. Nobody's bigger than this place. I hope this place in this state takes a stand and sees through the curtain the snake in the grass. Yeah, I just think that, look, there's going to be things painted in reference to, well, those guys had really good relationships with Frank. I get it. But I think he should keep Corey. I don't think he should keep Frank. Not right now. Not as things are maintaining. If he does, great. If he doesn't, great. But I don't have any fight in the matter in reference to, I don't care what he does at running back. I don't care. It is his prerogative. I don't care. He is a walking, talking Stephen Hawking, who's going to be in the Super Chat next. He is a walking genius on offense. But you don't have a running back committed in this class. You don't have a quarterback committed in this class. And you're holding the two biggest prospects in this class a little bit hostage here. Now, do I think that they want to see where things are going and who their position coaches are going to be, who the DC potentially going to be? Probably. But if Blake Baker was here and he was full-time and he wasn't going anywhere and he wasn't like trying to take the Tulane job, which I hope he gets from an LSU perspective, I hope he doesn't, but I hope that he gets it. I wonder if he would have allowed that. Walking, talking, Stephen Hawkins says, Brayton Allen, LFG. Gotta love it. Big time flip. Steve Beam with a $2 super chat says, trust in Lane. That we do. At least I do. I do for sure. Mr. LSU fan for life with a $10 super chat says, tomorrow is signing day. Let's get it. Momentum already started. Look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I do think that you're going to get some flips tomorrow. And I think that you sit in a really good spot with a guy like Chase Matthews, and you're going to go all in on it and see if this staff in 3 days can flip one of the best wide receivers in this class. It would be something if you could. But you're going to go for it, and let's see if you hit it. Big Train Kiffin with a $2 super chat says, just bought a Cadillac. Throw some D's on that bit. Yeah, you know, there was a first off, amazing song. Just throw the Cadillac, throw some D's on that bit. There used to be a song that we used to kind of make fun of that one with. Just bought a Big Mac, throw some cheese on that bit. Now, I've lost 150, so I don't eat Big Macs anymore. But, hey, man, you know, just bought a Big Mac, throw some cheese on that. But, yeah. Coley Simmons with a $10 super chat says, Brayton Allen flipped. Trust Big Kiff. Yeah, it's a big flip. It's a good player. It's a really good player. Maybe you can flip Chase Matthews, too. That would be massive, too. Charlie Oliver with a $2 super chat says that intro music hits hard. It does. It does. And unfortunately, some rando bought the intro music, so we got to take it out after every show. Get the Mic became a member on the YouTube channel along with Chris, and Go Taylor 682 all became members on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Again, we apologize. We were putting out members only content today, and we forgot to hit the button, and I was doing other things, and then Brandon and them texted me. It's like, hey, boss, we kind of messed up here. No big deal. We'll get better there. No big deal at all. But we'll get some more content out to you tomorrow and or Wednesday. Rosin Phoenix with an $8.88 super chat says, brother, seems like 4 years all over again with cutting Louisiana ties. today cut loose a 3-star interior offensive lineman from Louisiana for a 3-star interior offensive lineman for Florida. Very Brian Polian-like. But see, here's the thing. I hear people say that. You had an offensive line coach, a wide receivers coach, and a running backs coach, all from the state of Louisiana. You didn't cut ties with Louisiana. The 3 guys that you had along your offense that you had with Louisiana ties, not named Corey Raymond, okay? And you don't know what Blake Baker's going to do. But you look at a situation where that was the worst side of the ball that you're on. I'm just not going to tell Lane Kiffin that he doesn't know what he's doing on offense. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it right now until he gives me a reason to do it. KYH with a $5 super chat says, if Frank goes, try to get Coach O. I don't care if his job is to shine helmets. He's worth it on recruiting alone. We'll see what happens there. We will see what happens there. Dane Bergeron with a $10 super chat. What's up, Dane? Says LSU should take on the mentality of the old Oakland Raiders and Jimmy Johnson's Miami Hurricanes. It's us against the world, and remember all the assholes in the media talking shit. Yeah, you got to embrace it, brother. You got to embrace it. You do. Red line, where you got to, let me just say this. You got to embrace the villain role. You do. You got to go full Heath Ledger. You got to go full Dark Knight. You got to embrace the villain role. I'm going to make this pencil disappear. You know, like you got to go full villain. Lane Kiffin right now is a villain. LSU right now is a massive villain. You got to go take on that role and embrace it. Because if you embrace it and it's us against everybody, us against the world mentality, you're going to have success. You are. You are. Red line with a $5 super chat says Landon Duckworth, who is a top 10 quarterback in this class, knew very possible. Per Shea 9 minutes ago. Thanks, Blake, for all you do. Yeah, I mean, can they flip him? You need quarterbacks, plural. I've clearly been on a show since 6 p.m. I've been on shows, so I haven't seen anything. But if Shea's reporting, he's one of the best in the business. Probably the best in the business. Richie Evans with a $2 super chat says, Blake, who needs to be put in check? Everybody that's on the old staff. I'll leave it there. Stephen Young says, Blake, please go see Go Edit's post above. We got 9,000 comments in here. I'm not going to be able to do that, brother. D. Smith with a $2 super chat says, Chase Matthews. Yeah, so I heard earlier today, and we'll see what LSU's able to do here. I was told earlier today that LSU is going to make a massive push for him. They're going to make a massive push for him. Let's see if they can land him. Between you, Ole Miss, and Auburn, and let's see what LSU is able to do here. Look, man, they got 3 days. And I'm sure that NIL will play a factor here. Can you go and flip one of the best wide receivers in all of the country? Will be the question. Redline with another $5 super chat says, was feeling good, but since you've been live, Ole Miss has players coming out saying and posting that Lane lied about how Sunday went down. Is that going to hurt on commits? No. Of course they're saying he's lying. Of course they're saying he's lying. Why wouldn't they? Now, here's the thing. When they're done with the playoffs and players go in the portal and they follow him here, who's really going to be lying? Let everything play out. Just let everything play out. Ricky Pope with a $200 super or 200. He sent one yesterday. It was 200. He sends a $20 super chat. Says Ole Miss doesn't stand for Ole Mississippi. It stands for Ole Miss, meaning we miss everything being relevant in college sports. It's true. That's true. They do, Ricky. They do, and they're going to miss big here. I think Pete is going to do a good job, but it's not going to be like Lane did it. David Mitchell with a $2 super chat says, isn't Hardy the running back in Missouri from Louisiana? No, he's from Mississippi. Here's another thing. Guys, this staff thought that Hardy was too little. The kid wanted to come here. But no, he's from Mississippi. But he should be an LSU Tiger. Grievous with a $2 super chat says, if Lane can manage a top 7 class, I'm happy. I don't know if he can get there. But just try to be around the top 10. You'll be fine. We're going to be, guys, let me tell you this. You're going to be fine. Now, you can't have 2 5-stars decommit. You're going to have to at minimum land on one of them. You're going to have to land on one of them. And let's see where it goes. They said that they're pushing it back. Let them push it back. Let's see how this all plays out. I don't know how it will. Thomas says Chase Matthews flip $2 super chat. I mean, look, I think LSU should feel good about where they are, and they're going to give it everything they can. I have no idea if he's going to flip or not right now. He's committing on Friday, and we will see on Friday if he flips his commitment. Legendary CEO with a $50 super chat says insert ridiculous message about which coach should stay. Listen, for me, the only two that I would retain, if it were me, would be Corey Raymond and Blake Baker. And Blake might be going to Tulane, for all I know. He very well could be going to Tulane. Those are the only two, and thank you for a massive $50 super chat. Those are the only two that I am bringing, or I'm keeping. I would replace the entire offensive staff. I get you need Louisiana ties, but guys, there's Louisiana ties all in that building in reference to off-field personnel recruiting staff. I think he's got to keep Sam Petito. I think he's got to keep Sherman Wilson and J.R. Belton. I do. I 1,000% do. Ricky Richardson with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Ricky. I greatly appreciate it. Trip Block with a $2 super chat says, when should we know the whole staff officially? It's going to be a minute. Officially, it's going to be a minute. The whole staff, it's going to be a minute. TJ with a $5 super chat says, hey, Blake, can you talk about the Charlie Weis situation? Ole Miss fans are trying to talk like he's not actually signed, and they're going to poach him back. Well, they're going to have to pay LSU a buyout if they do. I don't think they're going to poach him back. He signed with LSU. I think he's going to stay at LSU. And I think we go from there. We'll see. Now, Lane Kiffin just retweeted Deuce Gerald's post. Says, I will be signing Wednesday, December the 3rd at 2:30. Does that mean something? Who knows, man? Who knows? We'll see. But I'm starting to get a feeling around 8:30 every night he's going to start retweeting. In reference to the Charlie Weis situation, I don't think that they flip him. I don't think they flip him at all. I just think it's very hypocritical that they won't let Lane do it, but they're going to let Charlie Weis do it. It's so dumb. Grievous with a $2 super chat says, how close is Frank to the recruits? Also Bradford. Not at all really with Bradford. Bradford committed to Ohio State for a guy that you went and got, and because you sucked, you're just unable to flip him. I'm assuming Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown, pretty damn big. David with a $50 super chat says, how is media and everyone jumping on Lane's ass for leaving when Keith Carter gave Lane the deadline? Now Keith lets Charlie Weis coach the playoffs. Let's stop making a villain media, especially all the media attacking Lane and our recruiting at LSU. 1,000%. You're 1,000% spot on. 1,000% spot on. They're hypocrites. They're 1,000% hypocrites. And you know what? I think Keith Carter, Ole Miss fans in time will realize this. He mismanaged this entire situation. They don't want to see it now. And this whole line of, well, I have to live here. Brother, you have a chance to go win a playoff game at home. You have a chance to go win games in the playoffs. This is so dumb for them. I guess that they trust Charlie Weis more than they trust Lane Kiffin. Andrew says, Les and Ed retain staff from previous era when winning two out of the three championships.
We killed Brian Kelly for getting rid of coaches from the boot. Lane's got me worried all the players follow coaches and then keep some. Explain your offensive staff right now. Explain your offensive staff to me right now. He kept Dave Aranda. He kept Corey Raymond. He did keep some guys. He kept a lot of guys. Les kept some guys. But at the same time, guys, look at your offense. Let me ask y'all this question. Is there only one offensive line coach from the state of Louisiana that coaches in college football? Is there only one running backs coach from the city of New Orleans that is a running backs coach in college football? Because it's not. Y'all got to explain the offensive staff to me right now and why it's so bad. All three of the guys that you want gone are from Louisiana. You know what? Retain Bryant. You know what? Keep Cortez and keep Brad Davis then. I get Frank was a big deal for your recruiting. Your running back room is also an issue. He doesn't have one committed. And if Frank leaves and you get Lamar Brown and you get Richard Anderson, you're not going to care about it. It's only about the recruits. You don't want to keep Frank either. Ricky Pope with a $10 super chat says, Bama brought around by other state athletes. Yeah, they go all around the country all the time. All the time. There's a lot of ways to slice that chicken. Brandon with a $5 super chat says, best show in town, guys. I look forward to it all the time. Thank you so much for that. He says, question, what is true about Frank? Did they still let him coach for the bowl game or hit the door? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Look. I think it's pretty I think that we all are adults and we can read the room on that. I don't think Lane wants to retain him. And he might have to. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe you get put in a box. But I don't think Lane Kiffin is a guy that likes being put in a box. Gary with a $5 super chat says, honestly, Governor Landry set the tone in all of this. I am guilty of reading his first reaction the wrong way, and Virgil. Same. Very much the same. Penn Jones with a $5 super chat says, Carter, those old Piss fans should be thankful they aren't yellow teeth Arkansas fans, shouldn't they? It's very true. It's very, 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 very true. All right, Journey, along with Aaron Miller and Thomas, all became members on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. We'll get some content, more content out to you soon. Thomas with a $2 super chat says, Allen or Darby? Whew, I don't know. I like Allen a lot. I like Darby a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I think Allen's a really good player. I think that both of them can play in the SEC. Ricky with a $10 super chat says, and to volunteer wanting in the chat, Vols means violated often by Clark Lee. That's funny. Violated often by Clark Lee. That is funny. It's a good one, too. All right, a couple more here, but we can get out of here. Brennan with a $5 super chat says, if said coaches are truly ransoming recruits, they just fired themselves. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Why do you – you're going to have to explain to me how both of them went from shutting down their recruitment to them now waiting. What was said in the meeting between Lane and Frank? I mean, guys, come on. Come on. We're smarter than that. Walking, talking, Stephen Hawkin says, not allowing Lane to stick around for a run, then asking if they could rent our offensive coordinator does nothing but show how butthurt Carter is about Lane's departure. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's so true. He's mad at him. He's mad at him. Get Rowdy and Casey became members on the YouTube channel. Thank y'all so much. I greatly appreciate it. Rodney with a $5 super chat says, bring back O. Or Bean, he's saying, bring back O, bring back O, bring back O. Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. We'll see how it plays out. I wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Tiger Bait says the whole villain, us against the world, should LSU game shirt or should be LSU game day shirts. I agree. Casey became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. KY8 says Chris Hilton glaze of the day is he eligible to come back after all of the injuries? Maybe. I mean, I'm not sure. Do you think he looked or how do you think he'd look in Lane's offense? Really good. Yeah, really good. I wonder if he can get an extra year of eligibility. I think he deserves it. Stephen Young with a $5 super chat says, Go Edits commented offering to provide you info straight from the recruit's mouth in the chat earlier. Hit us in the DMs. But, guys, Stephen, I'm just telling you, I'm not guessing on this situation. I'm not guessing. I don't care what people – I'm not guessing. Hawkin says, you got to embrace the villain role as someone who's embraced it as the Astros fan. Let me tell you. We about to have some fun, yo. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really, 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 really fun. Ricky Richardson says Le'Veon Moss and Dylan Sampson, both Louisiana kids, and Frank didn't want them. Yeah, I mean, the Le'Veon Moss thing is probably the only one that I don't blame him on. I think Le'Veon Moss needed to leave. I think he needed to leave because – there was a lot of bad situations. But here's the thing. Caleb Jackson didn't pan out. You didn't go get a running back in the portal. Trey Holly's no longer here. TJ Lindsey's no longer here. And you relied on a true sophomore and a true freshman running back, and you thought that was going to work for you. He was advised to go in the portal, and he just did not want to do it. Brandon with a $5 super chat says, absolutely love the show because it's real. Scale out of 1 to 10. How excited are you to cover Lane Kiffin over BK? 10. Yeah, 10. Look, man, there's 22,233 of you in here right now. Yeah, it's not close. It's not close. iComedies says Frank has not recruited a great player since Geis. Man, I think Harlan Berry's going to be really good. I mean, if Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown were to come here with him, then I think they'd be really good. So, yeah. Tiger Bait says, Blake, your thoughts on Lane coaching whatever bowl game LSU does go to. Shouldn't do it. Let this coaching staff and team finish throughout the year and then come in next year. I would advise him, and he's not going to do it. DK DuPont with a $2 super chat says, true Frank holding out recruits for leverage. It seems that way. It seems that way. David with a $10 super chat says, this is from Shay. Saying familiar, name committed to another SEC school is on the phone with Lane, is working OT tonight. By the way, Keith Carter needs to be fired, just saying poorly managed their playoff run. Yeah, I mean, look, man, Shay's one of the best in the business, man. Me and Shay were sitting next to one another the other night, or the other day at the press conference. Probably need to bring him on, have a conversation, and talk about this recruiting class. Be fun. Stephen Young says Harlan Berry would be stupid to leave over Frank with Lane Kiffin's offense. I agree. And C. Murder says LSU villain in baseball too, without a doubt. And that's what makes it so fun. So 1,000% what makes it so damn fun and intriguing. All right, last one. Noah Smith, thoughts on Fournette having interest in the running backs coach? He's never coached. He's never recruited. So there's a lot of experienced Louisiana running backs coaches out there. See y'all soon. Peace.